When the mighty river Ganga was first summoned to earth, she refused to flow. What force could possibly halt the world's holiest river? And what curse could consign a king's memory to silence for thousands of years? Most know the Ganga as India's lifeline, a river so pure that pilgrims travel hundreds of miles to bathe in her waters. But few know the untold story behind her arrival. Buried in the shadows of ancient texts is the tale of a forgotten king, one whose desperate plea shook the very heavens, and whose curse nearly kept the Ganga forever from touching earth. By the end of this video, the true story will unfold. What was the curse? Who was the king? And why did the Ganga, beloved of gods, resist her sacred journey? As we turn the page to another epic, subscribe to journey alongside us through every adventure. Picture ancient India, a land draped in gold and green, its forests teeming with songbirds, and its mountains capped by clouds. In the kingdom of Ayodhya, ruled by the Ikshwaku dynasty, there lived a noble king named Sagra. His empire stretched as far as the eye could see, but within his palace, a storm was brewing, one that would change the course of the world's holiest river. King Sagra was blessed, or perhaps cursed, with 60,000 sons. 60,000 voices echoed through his courts, 60,000 shadows roamed his halls. Despite all his might, Sagra was consumed by a single question that haunted him both by day and night. Why, despite all his sacrifices to the gods, did calamity continue to befall his house? Sagra's thoughts churned late into the evening as he watched flames dance on his sacrificial altar. "I have given all I can," he would tell his queen, his voice trembling. Yet the gods remained silent. "Is there some test I have not passed? Some debt I have not paid?" One sleepless night, Sagra resolved to perform the greatest of rituals, the Ashwamedha Yagna. In this most sacred ritual, a royal horse was released to wander, and wherever it roamed, Sagra's authority would be unchallenged. But disaster struck. The horse vanished, snatched away by unseen hands. Whispers soon spread through the palace corridors. Was this the work of a rival king, or had something far more sinister claimed the beast? Unable to bear the insult, Sagra ordered his 60,000 sons to find the missing horse. For days they scoured the earth, their footsteps pounding through dusty towns, over wind-swept plains, and into the deep, echoing caves beneath the Himalayas. One by one, they descended further into darkness, torches flickering, their hearts pounding with hope and fear. Far below ground, the sons stumbled upon an ancient sage named Kapila, seated in serene meditation. The missing horse grazed peacefully beside him. But the sons, blinded by suspicion, believed the old sage had stolen their father's prize. Furious, they shouted, their voices rising like thunder. "Return the horse, old man," they cried, not knowing they were standing before a being whose power could undo the earth. Kapila's eyes glowed like embers. "You accuse me without cause?" he replied, his voice calm but cold. "You know not who I am, nor the fate you invite." But the sons would not listen, and in their arrogance, they charged forward. At that moment, the sage opened his eyes fully and unleashed his wrath. Unable to contain the power of truth and purity, his gaze reduced all 60,000 to ashes in an instant. The ground trembled, the world stood still. In the silent aftermath, no songbird dared sing. The air itself seemed heavy. Back in Ayodhya, King Sagra waited for word, unknowing and hopeful. Days stretched into weeks, weeks into months. When the truth finally arrived, it struck the aging king like a blade. His heart shattered, his sons, all of them, gone, burned to ash by a holy man's curse. All that remained were whispers, and a horse that wandered back to the palace, marked by the fires of destruction. Sagra mourned not only for his sons, but also for his dynasty. For without the last rites, without holy water to cleanse their souls, the princes would never find peace. They would wander as restless spirits, trapped between worlds. So began Sagra's quest, not for power or glory, but for redemption. Night after night, Sagra would gaze towards the heavens, whispering prayers to the gods, desperate for a sign. His thoughts haunted him. How can I set their souls free? What father could bear this burden? Generations passed. Sagra's grandson, then great-grandson, one after another, searched for a way to bring peace to their ancestors. Each met the same roadblock. Without the waters of the celestial Ganga, the ashes could not be purified. And yet, the Ganga herself refused to descend. For all the pleas, for all the prayers, she remained in the heavenly realms, defiant and unyielding. Here lies the true heart of the tale. What force could hold back a goddess? The answer was a curse, woven through fate and pride. There are nights when legends say the sorrowful ghosts of Sagra's sons would roam the earth, their forms pale and flickering in the moonlight. Villagers would whisper, they cry for salvation. But only the Ganga's touch can set them free. Yet, the Ganga, divine and beautiful, was not so easily moved. She spoke, not in words, but in torrents that fell only on distant clouds. In the halls of paradise, she would think, why should I descend to a world that has forgotten humility? Why should I cleanse the very ashes of those who dared defy sage? But centuries later, hope appeared in the form of a prince named Bhagirath. The boy was different, quiet and determined, with a resolve like polished stone. He watched his father, his grandfather, all wither under the weight of the curse. If I cannot bring Ganga down, Bhagirath thought, who will? For years, Bhagirath meditated on a single dream. He stood on mountaintops as cold winds battered his face. He knelt before shrines, his skin burned by the summer sun. He fasted, shunning all comfort, his mind repeating a single plea, O Ganga, come to earth. Let my ancestors finally rest. And after untold years, the Ganga finally spoke. Her answer, however, came as a torrent of laughter. You wish me to fall? She called down. You know my power. If I descend without restraint, my waters will shatter the world you seek to save. Do you think you, or any mortal, can bear the weight of a river that flows from the heavens? Unbowed, Bhagirath replied, if my prayers cannot convince you, let the world witness my faith. If I must beg, I shall beg. If I must stand alone, then let me stand. The villagers would look up at the pale figure atop the mountains and whisper, will the gods finally listen? Moved by his compassion, the gods decided to test Bhagirath's resolve yet again. Ganga agreed, but with a challenge. Find someone who can bear my force, or your request will destroy everything. Without hesitation, Bhagirath turned to Lord Shiva, the god of mountains, the destroyer, and the one who can absorb the fury of the world. High atop Mount Kailash, in the icy silence, Bhagirath stood before Shiva, his voice trembling but clear. If I am found worthy, I ask this boon, let Ganga flow, but let your matted hair catch her, so that no harm may come to this earth. Shiva, who had watched countless centuries unfold, peered into Bhagirath's heart and saw not ambition but love. With a slow, gentle nod, Shiva agreed. But remember, he said quietly, the river will cleanse, but the world must remember its lesson. So, it was decided, the day the world awaited would finally come. The celestial Ganga tumbled from the skies, wild and free, her waters dazzling like liquid diamonds. But as promised, Shiva caught her in his tangled hair, breaking her fall, turning her wild torrents into gentle streams. As the Ganga wound her way to the place where the ashes of Sagra's sons lay, the air shimmered with anticipation. Bhagirath watched, every muscle tense, as the waters touched the cursed ground. In an instant, the ashes dissolved, the souls released, their cries turning to songs of freedom. For the first time in centuries, Ayodhya knew true peace. And yet, in the quiet that followed, Bhagirath understood the lesson at the heart of their suffering. The Ganga had not been restrained by the force of a curse alone, but by pride, by arrogance, by the human refusal to listen to wisdom. Today, pilgrims gather by the Ganga's banks, Their prayers carried upriver in candlelit boats. Children splash and laugh. Elderly women weep tears of gratitude. But somewhere in the rush of water is the memory of a forgotten king, Sagra, and the echo of a curse that nearly kept India's holiest river forever locked away. The Ganga story is not just one of holiness or geography. It is a river that carries the weight of pride, redemption, and hope. Every wave is a whisper of the past, a reminder that even in a world ruled by gods and kings, it is humility that finally untees the knots of fate. If you want to discover more ancient legends, don't miss the next story popping up on your screen.